My name is Angelina, but everyone calls me Angie. At the time this happened, I was 17. It was around 1998. I live in a small town in Ventura County, in Santa Paula. It was my night off. I had worked at a McDonald's. So my friend at the time, her name is Natty. She asked me if I would go with her and meet her new guy. Well, she didn't want to go alone, so she could spend some time with him. Well, I really didn't want to go, but she was my friend, so against my better judgment, I ended up letting her talk me into going. So her guy friend picked us up from her house. We went to an even smaller town than mine. It was in Satakoy. It was like a 15-minute drive from our town. So we went and played some cards and drank a little. I didn't want to drink too much because I had the early shift the next morning. Well, I was ready to leave, and it was a little after 11:30 at night. I was ready to call it a night. I tell her this, and can we leave now? Well, she talked me into staying a little longer. When she couldn't, she tells me she isn't ready to leave. Well, I got really pissed at her, 'cause I asked if her guy could at least drop me off at home. We had a few choice words with each other, and to make a long story short, I ended up leaving and walking to a small gas station, which was a 10-minute walk from his house. So I was mad. Needless to say, I was doing her the favor, just going with her. Needless to say, we still no longer talk, even to this day. I walked to the station where they have 2 payphones. Well, I didn't have money on me, only some change that I had in my pocket. At that time, cell phones weren't a big thing then. Everyone had pagers. So I put the last change that I had in the phone to call my mom. She would tell me if I ever needed a ride, just to call. Well, I did. She picks up. "Hello?" she says. I say, "Mom." But she doesn't hear me on my end of the line. So I'm like, fuck. Well, she ended up just hanging up, thinking that it was a prank call. I'm standing there not knowing what I'm going to do. I sure as hell didn't want to go back to Natty and her guy's house. As I'm thinking this, a black truck pulls up for gas. A short, stocky man gets out. He looks like he just got off work. I think about it in less than a minute. And yes, I know, I should have thought of a better way. But at the time, I was more worried about losing my job. As I'm walking to him, he looks at me, just glances at me. I ask him if he would drop me off at the next town. It would only take 15 minutes. His reply was yes, he could drop me off. So he puts in his gas while I wait at the door. We get in the truck and drive out of the gas station. It was midnight by this time. I am just so relieved that I won't miss work the next day, and I turn to tell him so. And he is just staring at me in this very creepy way. It was like he just let his mask fall, and like the truck was smaller, or like I couldn't catch my breath. There is no other way to put it. My heart is pounding by this time. My throat closes, and he's giving me this look like he's undressing me with his eyes. At this time, I'm so scared, 'cause it's at this time that he's driving through the back roads. It's completely dark, and it's at this time that I realize what an idiot move I just made. Because he knew, and I knew, he could have did whatever he wanted to me. He knew he had the upper hand. So I tried my best not to let him see how scared I really was. I tried to ask him some questions to get him to talk. He doesn't answer, but he just nods his head. I'm sitting there in this truck, thinking of all the terrible things this stranger would probably do to me if I wasn't careful. So we're almost at my town, and I can see the lights at the gas station. You don't know how relieved I was to see those lights. Out of the blue, after not saying one word the whole drive, he asked me if I have a boyfriend. I don't know why. I told him the truth and told him that I didn't. Maybe it was because I was still scared and just wanted out of the damn truck. So I'm sitting there trying not to have a panic attack, and he asked me for my home number. Now, there was no way in hell I was actually going to give him my real number or real name. So I write down a random number and write Veronica at the top. As I am doing that, he finally gets to my town. And let me just say this. The ride took a lot longer than it should have. I know he was driving slow on purpose. Well, we finally get there. I tell him to drop me off at the nearest gas station, and he does. But I know he really wanted to see where I lived. No way I was going to let that happen. And as I'm getting out of the truck, he says in his husky voice, "I will call you." I look at him and smile, or try to. I say, "Sure, okay." I just want to get away from this guy, because the vibes I was getting from him were creepy as hell. So I walk to the gas station and wait till he leaves. And when he is gone, I start walking home. I wish this is where the story ends, but it doesn't. A few weeks later, I read in the newspaper that there was a rapist in town who had attacked 6 women between 16 and 20 years old. I thought of him right away, but then I was like, what are the chances of it really being him? I just didn't want to believe it was him, so I just forgot about it, but I was more careful. That weekend, I was on my way home from a friend's house, and as I'm walking through the side streets, I hear someone running. I turn around really fast, and it was the same guy that gave me that ride to the gas station, and he is running right at me with a pipe in his hand. As he is doing this, out of nowhere, I hear a honk, and "Angie, get in the car!" It was my 2 friends, Angelina and Eileen, and as I run to the car, I look back to see if he's still there, but he was already gone. I get in the car and my friend Angelina asks, "Who the hell was that?" I tell them everything as they take me home. They were shocked, to say the least. I honestly don't like to think about what happened if my friends hadn't been there when they had, or what that sicko had planned for me. My advice to people: don't ever get into a car with a stranger. Ever. Now I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I always try to tell her about the dangers out there and to be careful. This is a mistake I'll always remember, and it still gets to me when I think about it and what could have happened. But I just thank God for watching over me.